So having a co-op would let us, say, have a little bit more of a democratic process to talk to our next door neighbor of our duplex instead of just hoping that whoever we buy one side of a duplex next to, we have the ability to sit down and have a nice conversation instead of just not necessarily gambling on it, but just it'd be great to have an easy way to know that your goals are shared, and if they're not, that you can meet democratically about it with the person you share a giant dividing wall and half of the building you own.
Even in a situation where you might not know the people necessarily in the co-op, there's still way better benefits to being in it, and having that organizational structure would help being able to communicate with strangers. I think it just it mitigates a lot of risk that home buying has, and I think it would also help a lot with the maintenance of a home. There's so many things that you buy a home and suddenly you're in charge of 1,000 different things. And it's really hard, and you don't know about it until a problem comes up. And so I think even in a situation where you aren't necessarily friends with the other people, it'd still be a great benefit to be able to go to the other people in your co-op and be like, I have a problem, could you help me?
And coming from my perspective, who, I don't own anything aside from my own personal stuff in the apartment. Everyone always tells me, oh, renting is just putting money in a sink. You're not owning anything. There's no equity, nothing can grow. You're just continuously throwing money out. And I'm like, sure, but I don't personally see a reason why I currently would want to have equity. Now, if there were a situation where it wasn't just me or one other person, my partner, for example, where it's just okay, now you have to pay this huge mortgage. Oh, but think about the equity though. If it's 6 people, it's okay, this is doable perhaps,
yeah.
But there are still realistic things to consider where it doesn't make the issues of a mortgage go away. That still exists. It's just a different avenue you have to take.
For me, I just feel it's so much administrative that goes into owning a co-op. For the many benefits that it brings, it just sounds pretty hectic. Daunting, yeah.
So we don't want to own a house like that, but oh my God, the process of renting, it's impossible to find a place and you're at the whim of the landlord, and oh my God, this is the perfect middle ground. The way that's always been presented to me, I definitely would not necessarily view it as perfect. I see that there are a lot of positives and definitely a way to empower people when they're, just having a couple of friends who they trust rather than just being on their own and being on my own, there is no feasible way in my lifetime I could own a home. No way that I could do that. So there's definitely an element of empowerment there.
Co-op housing is to a great extent not just about lower costs, but about security of tenure. Nobody is going to be able to sell your house to build, a gas station or an electric charging station or whatever. As long as you keep up your end of the bargain, you can live there pretty much as far into the future as you want.
If anybody is interested in reading a little bit more about cooperative homeownership, myself, Patrick, and Dylan created a short guidebook that people can have a read through. The document's available through the PEI Cooperative Council. It's available for anybody who's interested in learning a little bit more about cooperative homeownership and figuring out if it is a choice that may work for you and your peers.